Big welcome to this no BS. I had to put it in here. Patella tendon in season guide. Why no BS? Because I won't just give you a couple stretches or tell you to rest and ice and make sure, okay, yeah, you do some isometric here and there and your patella tendon gets better. I'm here to actually give you the solution that you might have been waiting for. The solution I wish I had when 7 years ago my patella tendon started to pain, right? And also the actual principles that we're now using with Bulletproof Ballers to help ballers get rid of their patella tendon issues, even if it's in season, right? It's gonna be more difficult in season, and that's why we've got to have to look at all the different causes that could potentially cause your patella tendon issues, right? But the first thing we got to do here is differentiate between patella tendinitis and patella tendinopathy, okay? If you are in pain right now, you have acute pain, you have inflammation, and it's just hurting, like bending your knee slightly or jumping and landing, it's hurting, like with that stinginess, with that sharp pain, you very likely have patella tendinitis, right? Patella tendinopathy is more of the long-term degeneration that's going to happen if you don't treat your patella tendinitis. And the patella tendon gets more disorganized, the collagen fibers degenerate. And over the years, you can literally feel that your patella tendon feels different, degenerate, right? Today, we're going to look at the tendinitis more because in season, that's actually something I've seen last year helping a pro footballer, his name is Conrad, in preseason to get rid of his patella tendinitis, right? Be able to play pain-free again, not have pain while driving or even waking up during the night. I'll just blend it in quickly for you to see what he had to say.
I knew that I could perform even better if my knee pains were gone. Seeing the results, I just feel confirmed that it was the right decision to take. Exactly. As I said, my knee pains are gone. Now driving the car, I have no more pains. I can sleep now completely throughout the night, and that was something that was really, really fantastic. And really, without those exercises connected the way you built them up, that was really what brought the change and what really helped me. To work with an expert together is really helpful. Like, now you have given me insight in what I really need, and like now to progress on, I can keep on going and know what I have to do. And many thanks, man. You really helped me.
Now that you know it's possible, let's look at why it's possible. And I'm not saying that patella tendinopathy can be treated in season, right? It's just going to be much more difficult because it's been long-term degeneration. So we're going to have to push the tissues hard and really get long-term adaptations again to get your tendon back to 100% and beyond, right? So all of what I'm going to tell you today is also going to help with that, is what helped me dealing with my own patella tendinopathy. But I decided, and I made a video about that, to actually take the time off to deal with that. Now, if you can't take the time off, math equation, simple logic is what we're going to use today. The first thing I want to have you look at is what actually causes your patella tendon to pain. Well, there is force going into patella tendon, and if the force exceeds what your patella tendon can handle, then your patella tendon starts screaming, right? And that scream could be inflammation. It's usually a sign of your body. Pain is usually a sign of your body trying to fix something or trying to get you aware of the problem that's going on, which could be too much force going into your patella tendon. Now, there's two ways that force goes into your patella tendon. One is the external force, is every time you're landing, right? The force from the floor, gravity is pulling you down. The force from the floor goes through your ankle, through your shins, into your patella tendon, okay? That's one way. The other way is through internal force, right? When you produce force, let's say you jump, your quads contract and put force through the patella tendon into the floor. Now, if you've been dealing with this issue personally, you know that the landing is much more of an issue, right? It's much higher forces as well impacting your patella tendon. So what I want to have you look at today is 4 ways to help your tendon get less impact, relieve the impact, make sure you reduce the inflammation, literally everything to help your tendon, okay? We're not going to leave anything out, but once you understand that it's just 2 ways that your patella tendon can get impacted, force going into it is the external one, it's the internal one. The internal force is, for example, if you power up your quads, right, through only doing really muscle dominant exercises, but your tendon stays weak, that's when you're now producing more force than your patella tendon can handle, or when the force simply doesn't translate to the pitch because your muscles are strong, but then it doesn't get transmitted through the patella tendon right into the floor. or into through other tendons as well. You have Achilles tendons, all these different tendons that have the job to transmit forces to and from muscles. Okay, so let's get that away here, the math equation. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so how we're going to solve that math equation now to reduce the impact every time you land, there's 4 different ways. Okay, and I want to show you these 4 different ways because very likely you haven't tried it all. Maybe you've tried 1, maybe you've tried 2, maybe even 3. But if you haven't tried all 4, that could be the missing link. That could be the reason why you're still in pain. Okay, so I want to really show you and run you through all. First, second, third, and fourth, right? Let's start with the first and most simplest one. It's just going to be to reduce inflammation. Okay, inflammation and the pain that you have is a sign, but we still want to get at a sign, but we still want to get that away, because over time this could lead to degeneration if you continue to work through that inflammation to push through that pain. So we want to have you feel better, less painful, so you can do some more rebuilding work, which is one of the other points we're going to look into, right? So the first thing is reducing inflammation and pain. And I don't want you to go on ice now. If you're in knee pain, throw these ice packs away, throw these pain reducing creams away, right? Because that might numb the pain, or you've been told it reduces the inflammation. But what we want to do is to keep the natural healing process going, okay? The inflammation is a natural attempt of your body to heal, okay? It's bringing a lot of blood flow, a lot of heat. So we're encouraging that for your tendon to heal faster. So we're gonna do a lot of exercises that don't put a lot of stress, that don't cause pain on your patella tendon, but bring a ton of blood flow to that area. Really get that area to warm up, okay? And to make you feel better, more confident to go into other exercises that we're gonna look at after as well. Now, what can you do here, right? What we like is band and knee extensions, 1, okay? It's really simple. If you have a resistance band, spam hundreds, I'm not exaggerating, hundreds of reps per day to get that pumping, okay? It's literally a pumpage party every single day, especially in season, right? You have nothing to lose. Like, get that pumped up before training, after training. Like, what are we saying? Okay, while you're doing something else, I don't care. Pump that up, okay? Second, then, band and knee extensions. Other things that could really help is isometrics. We've seen that, and a lot of people have probably told you that already. Now, the thing is, isometrics are not going to be the only way for you to then go back to the sport, right? That's where we have other stuff we're going to look at, but they can be really helpful in that initial phase of getting your pain down, making your tendon feel better, reorganizing collagen fibers. Okay, cool. Let's do some isometrics there. There's wall sets, you can do lunges, 90-degree holds, less than 90-degree if it's too painful. That's what we're looking for there. Really creating some tension in that tendon, because in the end, tendons love heat and tension, okay? Now, last but not least, we're gonna have to go with backwards walking, okay? If you can do that pain-free, you can again find your pain-free level there. This could be a backward sled with minimal weight. This could be a resisted treadmill in the gym. This could also be just walking backwards without any resistance. Could also be walking backwards up a hill. The main reason we're doing that, again, is to increase blood flow and also to keep the muscles around it pumping, because often what happens when you're dealing with tendon pain, and that goes back into how force goes into the tendon, the muscles around it shut off, okay? So the quad muscle shuts off because now it's putting less force through the tendon, okay? The body's trying to protect itself. But we do want to have the quads activating, right? We want to have the quads active to make sure that the patella is tracking properly, you can absorb forces more efficiently. All that stuff is key. So backwards walking has really been something for me where I felt my quads actually activating again, like I've never, felt them activating doing any other exercise, okay? Without pain. Big thing there. So band and knee extensions, isometrics, backwards walking is the blood flow directly to the knee, okay? That's the first step here. And you might have been already doing that, and the reason why this alone is not going to help is because the force is still going into your patella tendon, right? And like if you, let's say you keep lessening the pain, cool, goes down, but then force goes in again, pain goes up again. Like it's a constant up and down, and you're juggling this, and it's never really getting much better, okay? So then we got to look at how can we simply reduce the impact that goes into the patella tendon in the first place? And we're not looking at the patella tendon itself yet, because if we have a human knee here, okay, that's the knee right there, patella tendon, let's say, that's the tibia here, okay, that's your foot, that's your hips here. And every time you jump, okay, and you land like this into the floor also shoots force right up through your foot first, in the first place, okay? It's not going directly to the patella tendon, right? It's going through the foot first. So guess what? We got to strengthen up those feet, right? We got to strengthen up your big toes, your foot arch, your Achilles, your ankle complex, right? That whole thing there, that whole foot and ankle complex, the muscles around it, tips, calves. Because after the foot, after the ankle, we go into the lower leg through the shin bone, and then, only then does the force go into the patella tendon. So the more we can already absorb at the foot, ankle, and lower leg, the less force is going to go into your patella tendon. It's as simple as that, okay? And by increasing your foot function, your ankle function, and lower leg function, not only strength, we're also teaching our body to distribute the forces more efficiently, right? There's a big thing here with the feet, because they're connecting your whole lower body, right? So if you get a good foot to glute connection, let's say, man, your hips are now also helping, okay? Your hips are now literally also helping your patella tendon to be able to absorb less force, okay? Right? Because forces are being absorbed here, forces are being absorbed at the hips. So if we get that function up there, it's going to be massive. Your patella tendon is going to be crying out of joy and being like, okay, you have neglected these areas for so long. Well, that might be the reason why it started in the first place, okay? Right? Because if your ankle is not, like a lot of footballers, a lot of basketball players as well, they get ankle sprains, don't treat it properly, and from there on, the ankle is not going to do its job anymore as it should be, and excessive force starts going up into patella tendon. And then the math equation, too much force going in, your patella tendon starts paining, starts hurting. So we really got to look at that. So key ways to build that up again, right? Your foot. We're looking at the toes here first in the foot, okay? So I like towel curls there. It's recently been popularized more by HFT, but it's key, right? Towel curls, if your hands wouldn't be able to bend, people call it this function, right? Now your toes have the ability to bend. If you look at kids, right, they can move their toes, whatever. I've seen athletes, right, that try and curl the towel, they can't even do it, right? Often it's one foot that can do it, the other foot can't, because there's imbalances. And we want to rebuild that connection to the toes all the way through your lower leg, all the way through your hamstrings and your glutes. It's just one piece of the equation though, right? I'm not telling you that's a be all end all, but it's something we're not going to ignore. After that, then we have the foot arch, right? How are we going to strengthen the foot arch? Well, we can do isometric holds, especially being on the forefoot. That's when we have to really get that arch to start working, to start stabilizing, to literally work like a natural spring, right? Natural shock absorber for our body, okay? So if we have the foot arch there working as well, amazing. So isometrics, towel curls. Another simple thing is to sled, right? You're already doing the backward sled there for the blood flow. Now, if you're sledding forwards as well, really pushing through those toes, pushing through those feet, guess what? That's going to strengthen your feet massively as well. Even the backwards walking, you're landing on your forefoot. On each step, you're learning to absorb those forces without the heel slamming into the ground, without using that elasticity, that spring of the Achilles tendon, which is the next thing, right? The Achilles tendon is the biggest tendon in your body. So it can really serve as a natural shock absorber again as well, if it's strong, right? If it's efficient at doing so. So we're going to look at the lower leg, the ankle, in that sense, making sure, okay, your ankle is freaking strong, your lower legs, your soleus, both your soleus and your gastroc, the biggest calf muscles, are strong as well, right? We're going to make sure we don't ignore anything. So how can you strengthen those? Well, simple things like calf raises, straight leg, bent leg, tib raises for the front. Also really key, because it's going to be the plyometric impact that you have when playing is going to be ankle hops, okay? Simply bouncing on the ankle with a stiff heel, okay? And if you do that for a minute or two, you're going to start feeling it in your foot. You're going to start feeling it in your shin. your cost, but as you improve that ability and as you improve the connection through your lower body, you will start feeling it in your glutes. So now the glutes are absorbing more force. Amazing, right? They're taking over. They're helping you. The glutes are so powerful. You don't want to miss out on those, right? So you're going to do all of these exercises depending on what you haven't been doing yet, right? And again, the great thing is that foot stuff, ankle stuff, lower leg stuff, the sledding, right? That's not as fatiguing as you going and doing some crazy exercises, some heavy squats, some heavy deadlifts. Like you can do that almost every day, okay? Stuff like sledding, tower curls, you can do that every day, right? You can work on these areas every single day or every second day at least, really making sure we make those gains that we're able to make even in season, right? That's not going to impact your performance too crazy because now you're fatigued or you're sore, okay? Because that's not what we want. So I hope this makes sense. Like the more force we already absorb here, the more strength and the more functionality we build. Ankle mobility is another thing, right? If your ankle is able to get into that dorsiflexion, really load up that Achilles, stretch the Achilles, that's when the Achilles really does its job, right? And is able to help absorb these forces before they go into the patella tendon. Or let's say you're heel striking all the time. It's not going to be too helpful, right? You're not going to use, let's say, at least the Achilles to the full extent. If you're decelerating, you're going to slam your heel into the ground, and then your tib has to be extremely strong. So we're working that tib as well, okay? It's really everything. Then, third here is now that we strengthen these areas to relieve your patella tendon from unnecessary forces going into it, we're also going to look at unnecessary forces created on the patella tendon. Now, if you go back to what I've told you before with the muscles putting force on the patella tendon, your rec fem, right? The mid quad muscle that you have, like you can see it in the middle of the quad. Some people have it really prominent, right? Often what we see is that people with patella tendon issues, they have a really tight rectus femoris, right? On their couch stretch, they're tight. On an ATG split squat, maybe even they're tight. But a couch stretch is a really, really good indicator to see if your rec fem is overly tight, right? You want to be able to get shoulders to wall. If not, we know, cool, we can relieve your patella tendon indirectly from some unnecessary pulling, right? Because as the rec fem muscle pulls on the patella here, right, through the quad tendon, it's not going to help the patella tendon. So if we can relieve that tightness here through the front, then also relieve tightness through the outside of your thigh, right? The IT band, also going to be key, right? A lot of people with tight IT band, so we're going to go into an incline pigeon as well, or an 90-90 push-up, actually gaining that active strength there, okay? Stuff also that you can do daily, right? So getting that tightness away, releasing tight muscles, I would say, okay? Releasing tight muscles and fascia, right? Because you might have been just stretching and stretching, you go straight back to how you felt before, because stretching alone, like passive stretching, is really not as effective, right? You want to be making sure that you actually create those adaptations and you allow your body to get into those ranges actively through building strength there, okay? So with an ATG split squat, with an incline pigeon, where we're on that bench, building active strength in that range as well, that's how you can make sure, okay, you don't just go back to normal after a couple hours, right? But again, this takes time, but it's stuff that you can already start addressing now, ASAP, in season. No time to waste, okay? Yeah, that's the third thing, okay, really. Like now we've gotten rid of the inflammation, the pain, that allows you to go into some more of the foot, ankle, lower leg strengthening, and also increasing the function of these areas. Then you can release tight muscles and fascia around your whole lower body, really, right? If you have tight hamstrings as well, it's not going to help. If you have tight tight calves, it's also not going to help, right? You want to make sure those muscles are working like they should be working, they're gliding properly, and they're not putting excess stress on the patella, right? Or the patella itself not tracking properly, because, for example, your VMO, right? If your VMO, another muscle that we not only want to release, right, but also want to activate, want to strengthen, to make sure, okay, cool, this is the muscle that as you go knee over toe, like as you push your knee forward, maybe on the knee, that's good for you, boom, you feel, oh, that muscle here, yeah, that's contracting. Like now you look at the knee that's bad for you, you might feel it's not contracting as well. It's often the first one to shut off, right? And then not activate properly. Patella is not tracking properly. It's not supporting your knee like it should be. So again, VMO, big one for the knee pain. With backwards walking, we're going to activate that. And then last but not least, with those exercises that directly target the patella tendon, right? In ways where we know, okay, we're directly getting stronger and more prepared for the sport. So let's look at this. This is going to be the most interesting one and also the most tricky one to do in season, if I'm being honest, right? Because here we are targeting the patella tendon directly. We could do too much and you could have a setback if you're not structuring it properly, right? That's why we're providing that whole guidance where, okay, you have this training this week. Okay, let's do the heavier session on Monday so you have enough time to recover until you gain because you're still in season, right? That's how in season it works, right? You can't just have someone to freaking go hard and you need to strengthen your patella tendon and then you make him feel worse for the game. That's not how it works, right? So all of this is already stuff that's really low risk here. This goes into the high risk zone, but it's worth it, right? And if you use the right regressions and you progress over time, it's also going to be massive. Okay, so that will be actually targeting the patella tendon. Boom, targeting patella tendon. Just quick one before we go into that. I do have videos, right? Obviously on detailed videos on strengthening your foot, ankles, lower legs, right? I'll leave them in the description. I have detailed videos on releasing tight muscles around your hips, around here, around that knee to make sure you get rid of that force. Today, I want to have you realize what you can do. You can now go and do your own research and go even deeper, right? You can go even deeper than that, but it's probably deeper than most people have told you, right? It's much deeper than just doing some stretches and some icing, which is the advice I've got for years, right? I went to the doctor, I do this. But yeah, let's get back into how you can target the patella tendon now itself. The $1 million knee exercise, called by Charles Poliquin, or named after Charles Poliquin, legendary strength coach, right? That called it the $1 million knee exercise because if your knee pain was gone from, let's say, today to tomorrow, right? And you're an elite athlete, that might make you millions, right? Like, imagine you not having knee pain, right? Where would you be? What would you do? How high would you jump? How fast would you run? So that's why an exercise that can do wonders for your knee might be, named the $1 million knee exercise, which is what happened here, right? And again, I don't say it's the be all end all, but again, if you haven't been using it, potentially it's what you might have been missing or avoiding. Because if you've been struggling with patella tendon issues, I know, right? Even just going downstairs, you're worried about it. I was worried about it. Just doing simple stuff. Now, the patella, the Poliquin step up, the $1 million knee exercise, puts your knee directly into that position that you don't feel comfortable in, right? That is mostly causing you pain, that you get into when landing, that you get into when decelerating or like changing directions, that knee over toe position, a lot of pressure on the patella tendon, right? But we don't want to shy away from that pressure because you're going to get into it when playing your sport. And what we want to do now is especially building that eccentric strength, right, in that patella tendon, right? Every time you're landing, that force comes from the floor. That is eccentric strength that we need to have there, okay? So with the Poliquin step up, a big focus for you is going to be to start at a level where you can really control down, touch the floor slightly, push back up without pain. If there is assistance needed, boom, get assistance, right? Make sure to pump up your knee beforehand, right? Really get those quads to fire so that when I just, in the beginning jumped into Poliquin step up, but I wouldn't feel my quads. I would just feel my joint, right? So I had to activate my muscles first, then I would feel much, much better going into Poliquin step up. Going for reps, 20 reps would be a good goal. 20 controlled reps, no pain would be a good goal. Observe over the next 1 or 2 days. Is it getting worse? Is it getting better? You could feel some sort of soreness, right? It's okay. Sometimes you feel some muscle soreness, right? Same thing could happen for your tendons, but again, in season, you don't want to push too far. Rather start at the floor, at your pain-free level. Observe, cool, no problems. Next day you go more, right? And no, actually not next day here. Patella tendon directly targeting connective tissue takes longer to adapt, right? 48 hours we're looking at here. So every second they max, okay, with a polyquin step up. But still, right, getting better each week would be massive here because you're taking out the hips as well. As we said, hips can massively help your knee, but it's not always that you're gonna be in a position where you can hinge back your hips. Sometimes you just land in a way where you go forwards, your hips are not really working a lot at all, and it's really almost all into that knee. And that's what we're simulating here with the polyquin step up, right? We're taking up the hips majorly by not letting them shift back, staying really strict with the form. Okay. Superset of dreams was a big one here, right? You can also check it out on my channel. I go through a full workout going through the routine that actually gave my knee hope again. Okay. Using the inflammation and pain here, the first step, doing the backwards walking bend and knee extensions, going into some isometrics, then going into the superset of dreams that consists of the polyquin step up, the elephant walk, and the cow stretch, which is, okay, we're opening up the areas behind and in front in between the sets of polyquin step ups, right? Which makes the knee feel better, have you push a little bit further on the polyquin step up, make more gains, get better adaptations, right? Amazing. And then last but not least, also in that workout, and also what we can do here is going to more long range, right? The long range is what actually remodels your patella tendon, your connective tissue, really, right? If you look at deep knee bends, that's what actually makes sure, okay, you're not just building muscle that are stronger. Like, you're always going to include your connective tissue. It's never not going to work at all. But we can preferentially put your body or your knee specifically into positions where your connective tissue, as your patella tendon as well, is into more of an active position, into more challenging positions for the connective tissue, where the connective tissue is working harder than it is like just in an upper range here, right? If you're getting into that deep knee bend, pain-free, right? As soon as you start feeling better, that's why, again, we're doing this. We're feeling better. We're doing all of this other stuff. But as soon as you can get into some pain-free, deeper range, use it, right? It has done wonders for others. It could potentially do wonders for you. I'm not promising anything here. I'm just letting you know everything that I know here, and that's helped. Like, we're doing this as a passion, right? Bulletproof Ballers is here to make ballers bulletproof again, not to keep them in pain, right? We want you to come in, have a life-changing transformation, and go and tell other people about it or help other people, right? That's why when you come in with us, like, we're gonna make use of all of that because we know how much it means for you to be able to play pain-free, right? I'm not just saying this, right? I love football. I love football, and you can't you can probably imagine, right, how hard it is to say, okay, I'm stopping everything, right, not in season, or I'm cutting the season short, and I'm actually fully focusing on the knee, which is, in the end, like, after all of this, after this whole in-season guide, if you have the possibility to say, look, I'm taking the time off now, I'm then gonna rebuild and because this is the beginning here, specifically in season, the rebuild, the return to sport is where most people fail, right? They go through the rehab, they get to feel better, but then as they return to sport, they get sent back again. And that's where most people fail, okay? So if this works for you in season, amazing, right? Specifically if you're dealing with patella tendonitis, it's easier to attack early on, right? You have the acute inflammation. It is a lot of pain, but it's less chronic degeneration, right? If you had that chronic degeneration, for example, my case, right, over years, I had to take the time off and actually make sure, okay, I'm rebuilding, and just getting the adaptations that actually build my tendon up, and not getting these impacts going into the tendon that have my tendon get more disorganized, right? And just compensate in ways I don't want to compensate, and like other areas, working overtime as well, ankles not work, all of that different stuff. So if you have the chance, that would be my biggest advice, right? Just between me and you, if you have the time, take it off, rebuild, come back strong, right? Dedicate 6 months in the Bulletproof Ballers, you're gonna come back stronger. You're gonna be a different athlete, right? You're gonna be a different freaking baller, okay? And we've seen it over and over again. If you want to see some of these success stories, we post them on Instagram, and we really hope to inspire more athletes with that, okay? So that's it. Long rant here on the patella tendon. I hope you understand why I said no BS, right? This is no BS. This is not just icing, whatever, like stretching. not nothing against that, but you can see how how passionate I'm about this stuff, right? And it's because I've been through it myself, and I've just found this to make so much sense, right? So why are we not doing this? This is really the number. These three things is nearly no risk for you, right? No risk for you to actually improve it in season. Then here, work smart, work smarter, not harder. But don't shy away from what is potentially causing you some discomfort or is making you uncomfortable. Find the comfortable level and start working from there. Start making gains from there. Okay? I really, really hope this video helps. As you go and put in some action now, if you're still unclear, have questions, whatever, need some extra help, let me know below in the comment section, or check out the first link in the video description. Obviously, we help people one-to-one to get back fully, as I said, within 6 months. Our mission is to make ballers bulletproof again, and I hope to see you in the next video. Peace.